同志们，咱们欣赏一下特朗普生日大阅兵，感想呢，咱们都可以留在评论区。
Ladies and gentlemen, our parade is officially underway. Up first, internationally renowned as one of the world's finest professional music organizations, the United States Army Band, Pershing Zone. They are the premier music organization of the U.S. Army, our nation's most senior service. Stationed at Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall, Virginia, it plays an important musical role in events of national and international significance. They were founded back in 1922 by Army Chief of Staff John J. Pershing. They're led today by Colonel Bruce R. Pulver and Drum Major Rob Moore. Today, Pershing Zone is playing a melody entitled The Army Goes Rolling Along. This was actually written in 1908 by the then Lieutenant Edmund Louis Snitz Gruber, which was a descendant of Franz Gruber, who composed Silent Night. It was originally written to be the 5th Artillery Regimental song titled The Caissons Go Rolling Along, and in 1956 the lyrics were revised by Harold Arberg as the official song of the U.S. Army, and then retitled The Army Goes Rolling Along. Pershing Zone carries on its century-old legacy, playing a march that brings pride to every soldier, the Army Song. The 3rd Infantry Regiment is the oldest active duty unit in the U.S. Army. Established back in 1784, the unit was dubbed the Old Guard by Major General Winfield Scott during a victory parade in Mexico City after the Mexican War. It is the U.S. Army's official ceremonial unit and presidential escort, conducting year-round tactical training to ensure the highest standards and utmost discipline of its soldiers. The unit routinely represents the U.S. Army and our nation in official ceremonies, major sporting events, and the U.S. Army's own Twilight Tattoo. The Old Guard also maintains 24-hour vigil of the tomb of the unknown soldier, while also conducting funeral services honoring our fallen heroes in Arlington National Cemetery. The regiment's 50 campaign streamer stand is a testament to its long, faithful service to our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. In 1775, the shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord sparked a revolution, uniting 13 colonies and forging a continental army from farmers and frontiersmen. Against the odds, they turned the tide at Trenton and Saratoga, survived Valley Forge, and at Yorktown forced a British surrender, securing independence and giving birth to the United States of America. Before radios and field phones, sound was the signal. In the Continental Army, fifes and drums carried commands across the chaos of battle, telling soldiers when to advance, when to retreat, eat, even when to rest. That legacy actually lives on today with the U.S. Army Fife and Drum Corps, part of the 3rd Infantry Regiment known as the Old Guard. Founded back in 1960, they're the only unit of their kind in the armed forces. Performing in uniforms patterned after those worn by General Washington's musicians. Playing period instruments with patriotic precision, they bring history to life, sharing the sound and spirit of the Revolution through more than 500 performances each year, both at home and around the world, too. The Old Guard, Fife and Drum Corps, everybody! World War I, the 42nd Infantry Division was formed with troops from 27 National Guard units, stretching across the country like a rainbow. Composed of skilled musicians from all walks of life and professional occupations, they perform a variety of musical genres. Though their mission is primarily a musical one, the members were ordered into active federal service back in 2004 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom 3. The band has also served in support of numerous state active duty missions, including cleanup efforts following Hurricane Sandy, distribution support during COVID-19, and recently, support for New York State Corrections. Commanded by Chief Warrant Officer 2 Ethan Wagner and led by Drum Major Sergeant First Class Drew Gans, the band is performing Over There, written in 1917 by Broadway composer and recipient of the Congressional Gold Medal George M. Cohan. Representing the World War I era is the 82nd Airborne Division, based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You'll notice the unit is wearing replica World War I uniforms signifying the soldiers who served our nation during this time. When the Americans entered the Great War, our soldiers, under the command of General Blackjack Pershing, hit the trenches in the new standard. It was the olive drab winter service uniform. Now on their heads you'll see a steel helmet with sand-textured paint built to deflect deadly shrapnel from above. Not bulletproof, but battle tough. Nicknamed the Pershing boot, on their feet was the M918, 1918 French boot. It was designed to survive the brutal grind of trench warfare. And on their backs, the field pack, rations, ammo, first aid, and a gas mask. Everything a doughboy needed to fight and to win. Incidentally, the 42nd Infantry Division was deployed to heavy combat abroad and then deployed again in World War II, ultimately liberating the Dachau concentration camp. The 42nd responded to the terrorist attacks on 9/11. Later, with the war on terrorism, the rainbow stretched across the world again, deploying in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thundering into view, the pride of Fort Sill, the U.S. Army Artillery Half Section. This is literally powered by horsepower and heritage. This elite ceremonial unit honors the legacy of the Army's horse-drawn artillery. With precision, discipline, and 6 majestic horses pulling a vintage 1918 caisson, the half section keeps tradition alive and rolling strong. Representing the power, pride, and precision of America's field artillery, this is Fort Sill's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Special thanks to our sponsor, Form Energy. World War II, a global fight for freedom. In history's darkest hour, the United States Army was on the front lines. From the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, the greatest generation faced down tyranny and turned the tide. From bombers to fighters to transports, U.S. Army aircraft started to thunder across the skies in World War II. And take a look up there, ladies and gentlemen. Flying overhead right now. They are fast, they are fierce, and famously used in the Doolittle raid over Tokyo. Leading up front, the mighty B-25 Mitchell. Up next, the Cadillac of the sky, the P-51 Mustang. From the sky, we're back down on the ground. In World War II, one vehicle led the charge, the legendary quarter-ton 4x4 command recon vehicle, the Jeep. You might have a Jeep in your driveway, but not like this. The U.S. Army truck quarter-ton 4x4 Command Reconnaissance, better known as the Jeep, was an iconic vehicle of World War II and was the world's first mass-produced four-wheel drive vehicle. The Army used the Jeep for almost every military activity, including command vehicles, scout cars, and medical ambulances. Fast, rugged, the Jeep became a symbol of American ingenuity. From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, this is the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. The 82nd received the nickname All-Americans after a contest as it represented the diverse origins of its members from every state. This name remains today symbolized by their iconic AA patch. Fort Bragg's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big round of applause, the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. In a global fight like World War II, the U.S. Army knew our troops needed more than courage. They needed innovation. Uniforms evolved for every environment, but olive drab remained the mark of the American soldier. Shaped by lessons from the trenches of World War I, the Army introduced two battlefield essentials: the M1 helmet, tough, stable, and built to protect under fire, and the M1 Garand rifle, powerful and fast. It gave American troops a very clear edge. General George S. Patton called the M1 rifle the greatest battle implement ever designed, and history proved him right.